Friends, I've got a question for you. If you could pick any property from books, TV, movies, video games, what would you want to see built into a theme park? Gets everyone. You guys have seen the episodes, and it still gets everyone every time.
Yeah, I saw it coming. And yet. Is it cleared?
It's partly also Emily's guilty face that she looks over.
While you guys think about that, let me welcome you into a friendly hypothetical show where we deep dive into a hypothetical question each week. You can listen to the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, watch on YouTube, follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and you can email the show, afriendlyhypothetical@gmail.com, if you want to correct anything, suggest any episodes. You have a correction from a previous episode that you wanted to bring up. Maybe we'll get to that at the end of the show.
Lord.
I'm a super fan. I'm the first super fan of the podcast.
Yeah. Today's episode is sponsored by Zach Bombach. Tell you about him later and tell you how you could sponsor the show. Stay tuned for that. With me, Ruby Ferris. Hello. Welcome. First time.
Yeah.
And Jesse Henderson. First time, long time.
Yeah, first time, long time.
You've been listening for a long time. It's been one day.
Yeah.
You listened to both episodes in one day.
I watched them both today. I binged it. My first binge. I never binged. My first
never
binge.
binged.
First ever binge. 2 episodes counts as a binge.
That's for me, that's a binge.
Yeah.
It's a binge, baby.
So, theme parks. There's a lot of, branded IP-driven theme parks that exist already. You got
Not enough.
some would argue too many, depending on who you talk to. The purists out there, all these people at Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, who think a theme park should be California themed instead of Pixar and Marvel. Stupid.
I've never heard that stance.
There's a lot of people from California. This is getting really regional if you don't live here or have never been to Disneyland, but California Adventure was opened as like all California themed. And then slowly over time, they have put more.
Because it didn't do well.
Yeah. It's
just nobody cared.
It was cool, but like if you're from California and maybe if you're visiting like internationally, it had like Hollywood theme and some stuff like that people might think is cool. But over time, they're like, yeah, now we own Pixar and Marvel and we want places to put these things.
Yeah.
So it's going in this park. But there's like some California native purists who are like, no, don't change California Scream into Incredicoaster.
It's not classic enough to like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Like, I get like the fans. I want to keep that wooden and like old school, but like California Adventure is what, like 20 years old?
Yeah, 20, 30. How do you know what year? 90,
45 years
like
old.
2000?
200 years old.
Disney California Adventure opened February 8th, 2001.
Hey!
You were on
It was in there
years.
somewhere.
And the funny thing specific to Disneyland that I think about the IP is that it's literally been part of it. Like the original park that was like Walt Disney's entire vision was taking movies and bringing them to life.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that people are like, I don't want you to keep making more and more movie themed rides. I'm like, there was some non-branded stuff at the beginning, but that's because they had made like how many, 10 movies at that point, the entire company. So it was like, anyway.
Yeah, definitely a vision. A long
like things being like movies and things being branded into theme parks have been part of it for 50 plus years at this point. So.
I stand the Universal 90s slogan, ride the movies.
God. I have heard.
I have a t-shirt. It says Universal Hollywood, ride the movies.
And you didn't even wear it.
I didn't know what we were talking about today.
He wanted to know what we were talking about.
You obfuscated this.
Yeah. Let me just name off a few other. So we have, obviously a lot of Disney.
Well, Harry Potter. I mean, that's like the first one that comes to mind, but that already exists.
Right. So let me name off some ones that already exist that
wanted.
we're gonna nix from the conversation. So at Disney, you have a lot of the classic Disney movies have rides in parts of the park. You have Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, like all that stuff is fairly well covered. Universal has Harry Potter. And then a bunch of other individual movies, Jurassic,
Jaws,
Jaws, like a bunch of Spielberg, E.T. did have a ride at one point.
I think it's still in.
It's still in Orlando.
Orlando,
just
which
not in Hollywood. Yeah,
I need to go back for nostalgia.
And then, lesser known by many, Six Flags has DC.
Yep.
So they have like Batman, Superman.
Mhm.
Is it well
Woman.
done or well integrated into the parks? Absolutely not. They just slap the names
Oh,
of
100%.
superheroes on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rides and maybe play the music, and maybe
Yeah.
half the time the music doesn't work.
There is one dark ride. There's like a Justice League dark ride.
Oh.
I haven't been on. I did watch a ride video.
Oh,
Because,
we have been on it.
Oh,
Where
okay.
is that?
In it wasn't it a shooting game?
Yeah.
It was not memorable.
okay.
No, it was at some. We've been to a few Six Flags.
No, it was at Six Flags in Magic Mountain.
Oh, is it at Magic
is it
Mountain?
really?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I
You
remember
go into
now.
the Hall of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Justice.
It's the place you go when it's
Oh.
hot. 105 degrees.
Yeah,
at,
it's
at
well
Six,
air conditioned.
Six Flags.
Fair.
So,
That's understandable.
The Oasis.
the Oasis.
Here you go. I want to know what he's going to say, because if he says Lord of the Rings, I'm going to cry.
Of course. Well,
Bring out the waterworks, because that's the first thing I'm going to say.
that's so hold on. Let me. So you have all that stuff. There's a few more. Nickelodeon technically does have a theme park. Paramount also used to own more theme parks, and so there was more like Paramount movie.
Mm-hmm.
The park that I grew up going to originally, Carowinds, had like a Top Gun ride,
That's cool.
Borg, which is Star Trek themed.
It's a Borg specific ride.
Yeah, it was called.
That's
It
intense.
was called the Borg.
Wow.
Again, these were just mostly
hiding your
just
branding.
names slapped on ride,
Oh,
like
gotcha,
roller coasters.
okay. Oh,
They did have a
interesting.
SpongeBob 3D ride, which is still one of the best 3D rides I've ever been on, but doesn't exist anymore. And
Wait.
then Cedar Fair Parks. What?
No, was this? This wasn't the Disney rebranding of the Hanna-Barbera ride. There was like I didn't know there was a SpongeBob ride. That's interesting.
At certain, yeah,
Interesting.
at Carowinds.
Oh yeah, all right. This was Universal.
Yeah, so
They had,
these,
like, the one
yeah.
ride that got rebranded
and then
several
they
times.
sold. So Paramount at one point sold all of their theme parks to Cedar Fair, the company that owns Cedar Point and a bunch of other parks, and now they have their like only real IP tie-in across a bunch of parks is Peanuts. Snoopy and
I knew that
Charlie Brown
one.
for their like kids area, and then
Billboards.
Six Flags also has Looney Tunes as their like kids offering.
Mm-hmm.
So those are a bunch of ones that already exist. There's probably more out there, but those are like the main ones I could come up with off the top of my head. So
Yeah, and the upcoming Epic Universe. which is
Epic
gonna-
Universe will add
maximize
more
Universal monsters.
Universal monsters,
Dragons?
DreamWorks stuff, dragons. They're adding a DreamWorks area to one of the existing parks in
Oh,
Orlando,
interesting.
and then there will also be some DreamWorks stuff like dragons in the new park that's being built, and there's a whole DreamWorks mostly themed smaller park that Universal is building in Texas. So Universal maxing out all of its
I know that.
IP.
Properties.
Oh, and when one can't forget that Aerosmith also has their own ride.
Oh, of course. Oh,
Rock and Roller
The
Coaster.
ride of all
absolutely.
rides.
It's a great ride.
And it was my favorite ride growing up as a
Yeah.
kid because I think part of it being in the dark made me less afraid. So I never looked at the actual coaster in real life and couldn't fear something.
I'm the opposite. I'm like the unknown scares me much more than like if I can see a corkscrew and then I do it.
But
I'm
it
like,
was
okay, I
a
did the corkscrew.
jam inside,
Oh, of
and there
course, I'm
was
saying it's
neon
not a jam.
everywhere. So
We
it's
all love
like,
the sniff.
why would I be scared after I'm having such a great time? And
Sure.
I didn't have to worry about what the fear.
And you just want to get to the Aerosmith concert on time.
Yeah.
Get those backseat passes.
I forgot. Is that what the like?
Yeah,
premise
you're
of
like
the
in the
ride is?
studio with them,
I
and then
haven't-
they're like, "Hey, we got you guys backstage passes," and then you like get in the super stretch limo, and then you ride to that Aerosmith concert while
Yeah.
listening to Aerosmith.
It's a real stretch limo because it's the size of
It's
a
super
roller
stretch.
coaster car.
Yeah.
I haven't been on that ride in like 12 years or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
it's been a while
Yeah.
for me too.
Oh yeah, much yeah. Let's say like probably 98 or something maybe.
Whoa.
So that's a bunch. So I think there's actually kind of
more
two
recent.
categories that I might that I think we could address. One is IP that you think is robust enough that you could have either a whole theme park or at least like a land, a section. Like Harry Potter and Star Wars have their own section. It's not necessarily a whole park.
Sure.
But so I think there's some that fit that. And then I think there's a bunch that you could be like, oh, that would make one good ride probably. And because we just talked about Aerosmith, my first nominee for what would make a great ride is Armageddon.
Oh,
Armageddon
all
would
right.
be one of the greatest films ever made. Don't argue with me about this. It's
I don't even know what this film is.
What?
Armageddon.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not seen it since it came out on VHS.
Well, you guys got to get on
I
Armageddon.
mean, it sounds like
I need
it's
to
the end of the
revisit.
world of some sort.
Yeah, so it is
an
about
Armageddon.
it's about a
I know
meteor-
words.
it's about a meteor that is hurtling towards Earth. And so they need to find a way to destroy it before it hits and kills all humans. So they send a crew of oil drillers to because this is a pretty much a direct quote from the movie. It is easier to teach oil drillers to be astronauts than it is to teach astronauts to be oil drillers. Sure.
I believe it.
Okay.
Ben Affleck doesn't believe it, but I believe it.
So they go up into space, land on the asteroid, dig a hole, put a nuclear bomb in the asteroid and attempt to blow it up so far enough away from Earth that it splits apart into two pieces and none of it ends up causing destruction.
Yeah, you only get a single ride out of this.
There's only one. One of the earliest. Is it Michael Bay's first big? No, he had The Rock. Yeah,
but I think
it was one of his big kind of breakouts.
Bad Boys was also.
Oh, Bad Boys.
So maybe like his third.
It's around
or
there. Yeah, it's in the late 90s. But yeah, just an incredible movie. Features
Aerosmith.
The Aerosmith song "Don't Want to Miss a Thing." How do you not have that as the soundtrack to a ride?
Oh, I mean,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, argument for me.
And yeah, so I think Armageddon. There was no way I would have even thought about that until we talked about Aerosmith. And then I was like,
I would hope so.
Why is there not an Armageddon
The question,
ride
but like,
somewhere?
what kind of ride though? We're talking roller coaster. We're talking dark ride. Are you following the journey to space?
I think
and then watching as they pull straws on who's
that
gonna.
sounds cool.
I don't want to spoil it for Ruby who has not seen it, or anybody at home, but
I think it could be kind of like the newer style of like dark ride roller coaster hybrid. I know you guys haven't been on the newest Guardians of the Galaxy ride in Florida. If anyone has the opportunity to do that ride at Epcot, maybe definitely the best roller coaster experience, or right up there with them. But one of the coolest rides ever. But so that's like, it's a roller coaster, but there's like screen elements and different things around the ride that you see. So I think maybe, something like that, or Rock and Roller Coaster where you're like indoor roller coaster in space, but then with movie elements thrown in. Now that we've lost every listener who's never seen Armageddon, we can talk about the real ones. Do you guys have any just off the top early nominees?
I have a couple thoughts for sure. I mean, we were just talking about The Witcher, so that came to mind.
The Witcher.
But I think that deserves its own little side world, like you were saying about Star Wars.
I think that could be
its own little land.
It's a universe.
Not a single ride
because
situation.
there's a Netflix. Would you do show or video game or?
I think do it all.
Are they also books? Were they
They're
books
both.
first?
Originally
They're books
books.
first.
Yeah, originally
Yeah.
books. So you do show. Is that what you said?
No, I think I said all.
All.
I don't know if you could
do they
inclusive.
I mean, you'd have to, I guess, like stylistically choose a lane.
Yeah, kind of the art.
Because the books are the games are like a sequel to the books, which the show is an adaptation of the books. So it's like a prequel
so the
to
games
the games.
and the book. So you could do so story wise, you could blend them because there's.
But they
not
have such
all
like different
overlapping.
stories, and they live in such different places throughout the story that I feel like it lends itself to multiple like journeys of ride.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you could have a lot of different things.
Another thing I thought of right off the bat, I'm coming in hot with two, is we don't have like a goth park
Goth.
or like emo kid.
It's not exactly a brand or IP.
But wait, hold on. I'm getting there. I'm getting
but-
there. Dracula is like one of the biggest IPs ever.
Yes.
It
So
should just be like a whole, not Universal Monsters, even though I guess Dracula is
that
part
will
of
be
that.
part of it, but it
that
won't
was
be.
written
It won't be
before.
all. I'm curious what that
It could be
part,
like a True Blood.
Yeah, I'm curious what that
Yeah.
part of that park will look like because I
Totally.
think it will probably be pretty gothic
Gothic?
in nature, and will definitely be the closest
Yeah.
thing that will exist to that. But yeah, you could do a whole kind of
Like
very.
just monsters and just like dark and I don't know.
It's the sad part about Six Flags having the DC properties and doing nothing cool with any of them because like a Gotham City, like all dark,
That'd be so
blacked out,
cool.
like a section of a park would be super cool.
Yeah.
What made me think of it is that I saw that Disney has like a day where it's like a bunch of, you know about this, Emily, I'm
What
sure.
is it?
Yeah, it's called Bats Day, and
Yes,
it's where
and I love
the
that
goths
name because I
descend.
love bats.
Is this an official thing or just an unofficial?
I think Disney's leaned into it. They now sell some like baked goods themed to bats.
There's
themed
some
goths.
IP that like, you know, Nightmare Before Christmas is like a huge
Oh yeah,
goth.
yeah. But it's so cool to
Sure.
go there on that
Yeah, but-
day because people are decked out in like these crazy
love
dresses.
that.
Like it's so fun.
And despite there not being a goth theme park, I feel like spooky and like child-friendly pseudo spooky, like Haunted Mansion is like the classic Disney one. They do
Yeah.
they do the
Love a Haunted Mansion.
what's the what do they reskin it to? You just said it, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
And then but I feel like even in just more generic theme parks, there's a lot of dark rides that are like, you know, Tower of Terror is like kind of that's
terrified
Twilight
of
Zone
that.
theme technically, but it's just kind of like
But yeah, the
spooky
vibe is,
vibe and stuff. So I think that would definitely work in general.
Even
in a theme
Universal
park.
should just spin off its own goth-ish adult park, because I feel like the thing is that it's scary for kids,
Yeah.
and they don't want to lean into that because amusement parks are supposed to be for kids.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like, we're so, as like millennials, it's about the experience. So
Have
adults
you-
go to the park so much too.
Have you been to any of the
Hornets.
like Halloween Horror Nights or not?
Love Horror Nights.
Scary Farm. Like most theme parks have some kind of scary.
Love Horror Nights.
Adult. More. I mean, kids
Yeah.
can go, but more
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
teenagers. And
I feel like
adults.
they also they do like the hype of doing that around like Halloween, because you're just gonna sell it like every day.
Yeah.
When you do that.
Honestly,
But Universal
More-
has
there's
everything
parts-
But
Hitchcock.
I'm down for more.
I feel like there's a park because I mean, at least in LA, Halloween Horror Nights always insanely crowded. Not Scary Farm, which is Not Scary Farm is another theme park in like it's very near Disneyland. They do one that is usually very popular and crowded. Six Flags has their own. There's like I mean, there's a bunch of parks in Southern California, obviously, but there's 3 of them that do their own scary, you know, that
You
type
are
of thing.
getting my vibes right now.
I know.
I'm saying
Someone could do it.
year-round
Yes, I think
Halloween.
there's a market to do that
Sure.
year-round.
I think a
and
lot of people
survive.
like
Yeah.
memes.
Yeah, at
Halloween's
least-
all
yeah,
year
yeah.
for me.
At least the problem in California is just space. It's like they have to
Yeah.
like, I mean, like they did. I know Disney just working out like ways to get like new land.
Yeah, they're actually
yeah.
doing
Universal
substantial
can't,
that.
because I know the cart, just a single cart. The club like won't sell. Or
There's
something.
there's a lot of it's like this. It's why you can't build a theme park
in the middle of
in the middle of a densely populated city
Yeah.
with no room to expand. And
But it's also part of why it's
in a
cool.
city and attached to a mountain. Basically, it's like the worst geographic place
Yeah.
you could possibly
But they're still
put a
sneaking
theme
out.
park. But
Yeah, they're still sneaking a Fast and Furious roller coaster on
they
that
are.
mountain.
Yeah, they are.
Crazy.
That's another one I didn't even name. Yeah, Fast and Furious
Oh,
already
yeah.
has one
Yeah,
ride
yeah,
and
they
getting
have-
another.
getting another. And
So-
then okay, I'm gonna hit you with the third one.
Oh
but
my
this,
God.
but this was just
All
for
right, why don't
funny.
you let somebody else talk for
This
a
was just for
second?
funny. This one I don't actually want to happen. This one's just a joke. It'd be like your grandma's theme
Okay.
park, and it would be like TCM branded, like all the
Turner
old movies.
Classic Movie.
I mean, the Great Movie Ride was basically the.
Oh, there you
Sure.
go. Someone beat me to it.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
because it was like a chill. You just like going around looking at the old.
It's your
movies.
grandma's ride.
Yeah, like it really was.
That's I mean, Universal, they've leaned away from it in some ways, but like the studio tour at Universal Hollywood
yeah.
like leans into old
Totally,
movies. But
totally.
yeah, a whole theme park, like
Yeah.
a really good Western
Oh, that'd be
set
dope.
piece would be good, which again, some theme parks do have.
Westworld. Sorry.
Yeah.
They used to Universal really used to lean more into like they had the making of the movies like show thing that was like Hitchcock. It was a green screen North by Northwest. Like it was all references kids would be like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
But like they
That's
would
probably
be
why
like,
they got rid of
yeah,
it.
we're talking about Hitchcock and we're gonna do like you're gonna be in North by Northwest and then like there was a couple other things where you'd like recreate scenes. I think it was actually all Hitchcock. It was like the birds and that and like Psycho and they would like recreate things like I'm in the movies.
See, they
this is
should've-
also when everyone didn't have their own cameras and YouTube channels and whatnot and
Yeah.
their own green screen technology. So
Yeah, they should have made that into its own park with the goth stuff, with all the Hitchcock
Yep.
bird stuff. I'm telling you.
Okay, so I want to go back for a second to the first one you said,
Oh yeah,
The Witcher.
the real one that was my real answer.
Because that just gave me an idea that what if you did, because I know it already came up briefly. Lord of the Rings is obviously
I'm just
going to be
waiting.
a huge answer to this.
But isn't that just New Zealand? That's the amusement
Well,
park?
what if you
but
did?
there's no rides.
Maybe people would be mad because everyone has their favorites amongst these, but you do a medieval fantasy super park with
Love that.
it's like a spoken wheel Disneyland kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you have The Witcher, Lord of the Rings, and Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yes.
Is there any others that would fit that?
I mean, like Harry Potter's already taken, so that's
Yeah,
and
it's
it's not medieval, but like it's thematic.
I think those are like the big three for
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
maybe you could do like a Dungeons and Dragons if you wanted to include
Sure,
that.
no,
as
no,
part of
totally,
it.
totally, yeah.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, as an
stuff.
IP, it's so hot right now.
It is.
Britannia.
Forgotten Realms.
The Amazon show. That's old, right? That's like Vikings era.
I think so. Yeah.
What is it?
I never saw it, but
never mind. It's just
It's an
like
obscure show that got one season on Amazon Prime.
I
should give
liked
some
it,
more.
but I was thinking, is there my way in was, is there like a Viking spin-off park of this park? Like, not spin-off, but like area where it's like, okay, we're medievals, but let's also go a little bit further back.
We could
and-
work in the How to Train Your Dragon thing into. I mean, there's a show, Vikings, that was on like
Yes, love Vikings.
History
Ragnar
Channel? What?
Lothbrok. We both
what
love
channel
it.
Yeah,
was that on? Or
I think it was-
A&E or I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it was History Channel on Netflix.
Yeah,
I think it was originally. I don't know if it's BBC. I think it was like another country, and then we like got the rights or whatever.
Yeah,
But
that show was. I saw just little bits of it here there. Absolutely absurd.
It's insane.
One of the most
Loved
ridiculous
it.
shows ever made.
So much fun.
Okay. I had a friend who for years kept being like, "You have to watch Vikings," and then I would watch 5 minutes and be like, "It's a little
yeah, it'd be a
much."
weird
It
thing
is
to
definitely
yeah.
much.
Like everyone is just like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like your best characters are like less piece of shit than other characters. So you're like, okay, I guess I root for you. But yeah, I mean, I say for like a fantasy park, whatever, like you got to go part Ren Fair and part park. You gotta not do the like Disney, like
I
you
think-
gotta be like,
Gotta have a turkey
you
leg.
gotta have the like, yeah, the Ren Fair vibe of like everyone's in on it, everyone's into it.
Oh,
All the
yeah.
stalls are like in the universe. Like encourage people to like go in garb.
But that's where I think if you had multiple different IPs that you could pull from, like you could build a pretty big, expansive park
Sure.
where you
No,
could
no,
have, but they're all like close enough in theme that if someone who's dressed in a Witcher costume is walking around in the Game of Thrones area, you won't be like totally taken out of the
Oh, sure.
experience.
Sure. No,
Whereas,
100%,
whereas
yeah.
like if you do a Ren Fair style thing that's just like attached to another theme park, then it's like it doesn't really.
Oh,
blend
sure.
that
No,
way,
totally,
so.
totally. I spent actually a lot of time thinking about what an expansive Ren Fair park would be
Sure.
like. Like, I want experiences. I want to be able to go on like an extra like hike through the woods that it's obviously attached to, and then stay at an inn and do like you have like an extra experience, like the hyperspace cruiser that didn't really take off, but doesn't cost as much.
I was gonna, before we started, I was gonna do a different episode topic, and then like some things shuffled around, and I was like looking at my list, being like, for this group, I was like, what can we do? And I was like, Jesse could talk about being immersed in IP for literally hours on end.
Correct.
Yes.
And we will. This
Yes.
podcast is going to be 4.5 days.
We were getting Ruby out of the. She was like teeing it up, and now I'm taking over the part.
Yeah.
And now I'm going on a
and now I will
monologue.
detail how the kitty part of the park is, of course, Hobbiton.
Oh.
And then you're kind of transitioning when you go to Bree and you stay at the Prancing Pony, and you can get some drinks.
Sure.
And then I mean, like obviously, I mean, look, you can do a dark ride in the mines of Moria
Yep.
or Erebor. I mean, look, you bring in some of that Hobbit. I know it's it's not as exciting, but like it's a good ride. You could do a Smog in Erebor. You could do a whole ride. It's basically the Harry Potter ride with the dragon, but
Sure.
Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Harry
Barrel out of bonds.
is
Flume
that?
ride. That's in the Hobbit when they get in the barrels.
Oh,
and
when they
go
have
down
all
the
those
river.
weird GoPro shots that don't. That's
Yeah.
like I hate that scene.
Okay,
I hate the way
but
it's shot. I
it's
like
a
the
great-
idea of it, but
It's from the book.
The
it's a great
spider
scene.
Yeah.
scene. Oh my god.
Oh, you could do a whole thing with the
oh,
spiders.
like a spooky dark ride,
Yeah.
kind of with
I would
scary
be so
spiders.
scared.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Terrified.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much.
I love.
so much
It would be
potential.
because so many fantasy things have spiders that like come into play. I'd love that if you did like a Horror Nights version, and it's all just spiders come are just have taken over the park.
I do
fair.
think the Lord of the Rings spider is better than the Harry Potter spider. Personally,
I agree with that, but I think almost everything Lord of the Rings is better than Harry Potter. So
I like Harry Potter.
I don't
but you're
agree
not
with
wrong.
that. I don't agree with that sweeping statement.
Sure.
But the spider scene,
Yeah.
definitely.
The spider-
So that would be a
Shelob is
scary
Shelob,
ride.
yeah.
Queen.
Yeah.
Shelob is Bay.
So,
I
Is
said
she-
it.
is she
It's
Bay?
said.
Good. Oh,
She's-
good.
she's so sexy.
I mean, have you played War of Mordor?
Shadow of War.
Shadow.
There's
yeah.
two.
Yeah.
And they're very similar. Shadow of Mordor
and
and
Shadow of War.
Shadow of War. Yeah.
They retcon a thing where Shelob is like also a sexy lady and also a spider.
oh,
I'll be honest, I didn't get far enough in them, but I'm aware of this
I did-
because the fandom
yeah.
hates it.
I did start
It's a thing.
whichever the first one was. I think Shadow of Mordor. I started it and didn't. Yeah, I didn't get too far.
Yeah, I was
but-
just like, I want green. I want green pastures. I don't want to be
It is
hanging out in
very-
Mordor
it's
for
very
like
dark.
20 hours. Like I like Lord of the Rings because I want to like walk around to Lothlorien and Rivendell.
I know we're just bouncing all over the place of different movies and IP and whatever, but as of recording this right now, it was recently announced and trailered, The Hobbit, the Shire
The Hunt for
game.
Gollum. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be a movie, but the Shire, if you're looking for video games where you can immerse yourself in Lord of the Rings, that Shire game looks like it's gonna be. By the time
Looks cozy.
so you might be listening to this, it might be out and it sucks. Who knows?
But it looks cozy.
It looks cozy and
cute.
and
it's
cool.
Animal Crossing for me.
And that's your like
He's so
vibe. Like
excited.
I love that idea of the Shire being like a kids area with like little play areas and smaller rides.
Oh, totally.
and,
Yeah. It's cute, but like, you're still gonna walk by.
and the houses are
okay,
like all the doors are like the size for children to be able to walk
Exactly.
in, and
Cute.
it'll be like the Toontown of this.
Exactly.
Man, now I want this to exist. So I know
Right?
that those three IPs would never come together, but you could do a whole Lord of the Rings park on its own.
Easy.
You could do any of those three could be its own park.
I think it's
but
been brought up like a few times, and
Yeah.
like people keep wanting to do it, but then like it's
the estate
It's intense
that
to do it.
the, like
It's
whatever the family estate or whatever who owns the rights to Lord of the Rings, they're pretty like
Tolkien.
they're pretty conservative with what
for
they
sure.
give out rights to do.
They've given no one the rights to the Silmarillion, which is like the backstory. So everyone like the Amazon show is like based on the appendices of the Return of the King, because they kind of talk about things, and so they have to like pick and choose. It's a whole minefield.
I'm really excited about Rings of Power coming back because I really like that show.
You're big
and
on the Game of Thrones.
Yes, I
I
am.
know. I'm just stating for everyone. you
Huge on the
love
Game of Thrones.
What's your personal favorite of those three?
That's a hard. I mean, honest.
Jesse and I are obviously Lord of the Rings.
Lord of
way
the Rings would be my
above
third. I'm sorry
the
to tell
others.
you both.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah.
It's
She
hasn't read the
still
book, so she
it's still
doesn't.
shocking. I haven't read. The
I
books
haven't read
again.
the Witcher books
But you still know.
or the
There's
Game
some
of
things.
Thrones
That's true.
books.
Yeah, I haven't read. I don't think I could do it. I don't think it's too.
I started the audiobook for the first Game of Thrones book, and it just doesn't.
I actually did download the Witcher audiobook, so I
Yeah.
do have to dive into that. But it would probably be.
I've never seen or consumed any part of The Witcher. What is that?
That's insane. You're dumb.
No,
you should feel
I downloaded. I'm very quick to quit video games because they're like huge investments of time, and if something doesn't grab me, and there's just something about the beginning of The Witcher, and I tried The Witcher 3, which is like the most popular one, and so I jumped into that and I watched the recap videos of the first two games and whatever, and just I don't know, something kind of like boring happened at the beginning, and I didn't decide like
You
I'll
gotta
never
get like an hour
I
or
didn't
two
go
into
like
it,
I'll
yeah.
never play this. I just kind of fell off of it and never
Sure.
came back to it.
Yeah.
But
meanwhile,
yeah.
I started playing. I played the first one. I realized it was a sequel to the book series, and I was like happy it didn't spoil anything. I stopped. I listened to audiobooks of all 8 books, and then I went back and played the second and third games.
yeah.
Because I'm that kind of person.
Yeah, it would definitely be GOT, then The Witcher, then.
GOT.
Got.
Got
They gotcha.
got.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could dig in for hours.
I
probably
could describe every
on
ride
the Lord of the
in
Rings
the
and
Middle-earth
fantasy theme park would be,
You
but
didn't say anything about Rivendell.
I mean, I feel like you're not gonna do a ride. That's gonna be like probably like maybe like eateries.
Ah,
or
nice
like
restaurants.
shopping.
Here's
See,
a-
that's where I would
gotta-
hang out. That's why I
sure.
wanted to know about
Oh,
this.
totally. I mean, look, half the reason I like theme parks, I'd say like 60% of the reason I like theme parks is just like the vibe. You
The
get
vibe.
to walk
Walk
around.
around.
It's
Yeah.
a vibe.
And so like, yeah, I would totally, just be like,
Can I-
get a few rides and then
can I pitch you a ride idea?
please.
You are on a horse. So at it's like
sounding
it's like the what are the Old Spice commercials.
Oh, God.
Now I'm on a horse. So there's a ride at Knott's Berry Farm. I think there's some other rides that are this
Oh,
style
God.
called
Yeah.
Pony Express, where you sit and you are like holding on as if you're kind of like riding a horse, and then there's like a thing on the back. The Hagrid ride at Universal, the Harry Potter one, is a similar kind of ride vehicle where you ride on the motorcycle. But so you have like a horse theme ride, and it's Aragorn and not Eowyn. I always want to call her Eowyn. Arwen, how they take Frodo from like the Prancing Pony and ride all the way into Rivendell. So it's like kind of a roller coastery thing where you're like going through different parts of the world. You're starting at the Prancing Pony, you're getting on the horse, you're going, and then you end opening up into like a really cool big Rivendell like set piece that you're just kind of like going through. Because I agree that Rivendell's not like a thing that it's like really easy to theme around, but if there was just a part of a ride where you're just going through it, because like the buildings would look, you could have like these set pieces that look really cool, and then you just kind of like pass through it.
Yeah,
at
like
the end
you
would
want to
be-
go there for how gorgeous it is, but
Yeah.
there's not going to be. But no, that's cool. Yeah, I dig that.
And also, I like a ride where you feel like you're riding on a horse or something like that.
The Witcher
Sure.
has a big horse vibe too.
Yeah,
so.
a lot of
sure.
horse riding.
You
in The
take
Witcher.
that same horse, go on to the next part of the
You actually rent your horse for the day, and you take it from ride to ride.
Actually, the horse locks into a ride system.
Yeah.
And then you sell the horse,
Dothraki love
and it doesn't die.
horses.
Yeah, it's like how some water parks you can like rent your own tube for the day that you can then take on the water
I
slides in the
actually
lazy
like that.
river and
That sounds
stuff.
sanitary.
Yeah, and then you just have one for the day.
5% more sanitary than how wildly unsanitary water
Yeah.
parks.
Exactly.
You have your sanitary
you have some
tube.
semblance of control.
Yeah, exactly.
You're taking your
Illusion.
sanitary tube, jumping into a lazy river, which is
Yeah.
one of the most disgusting things that's
Teeming with
exists.
bacteria.
Yeah.
It's sanitation theater.
Yum.
Okay, so I think, well, that's, we could keep going, but definitely fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, all that could
I
be
love that
really
trio
well.
park.
That could
would be
be
awesome.
incredible.
Because
Yeah.
you're right. You could wear one outfit to fit into all worlds.
Yeah, but I have some others that I want to jump into, and I know you probably have some more
No,
that we'll
please.
get into.
Kick us off.
But first, I want to tell you about this episode's sponsor. This episode is presented by Zach Bombach, my friend from high school. If you listen to episode 1, I will have fans, friends, listeners of the show. You can email in and sponsor an episode. So Zach wrote in and he said, this episode is presented by Zach Bombach. You can follow him on Instagram at Zachary Bombach. And the rest of his ad read just reads, I am here to admit that the Steelers are a far superior team to the Patriots. That's sports things for you guys if you didn't get.
I mean, I'm from New England, so I have to.
you know the
but I
Does
don't
it
care
hurt
about
you to
sports, I
say
don't care.
that? Is it enjoyable for
Well, here's the
him
thing.
to make you
I
say that?
appreciate when my friends support the show. I appreciate them writing in and telling me to say really stupid things. It's really fun to role play and say things that no smart human would ever say. And it gives me a chance to pretend like I'm a fucking moron for a time, which I really enjoy. So thanks, Zach, for giving me that opportunity to
sponsoring
be
you.
a fucking moron and say something that no one would ever say.
Thanks, asshole.
And thanks for giving me money.
Meanwhile, I was
he
going to
al-
be like, Mom, sponsor me.
Yeah. Everyone so far who has sponsored the podcast has been in some way berated for doing so.
Well, when I get my cut, maybe I will calm down.
He also wrote it with an episode suggestion, which was also sports related. He said, in each sport, NFL, NHL, MLB, all of those, which team would you prefer to play for? Factoring in city, weather, history, like all that stuff. So I think that's a great idea for a future episode.
Definitely not this audience.
Yeah, need a different.
Yeah.
We have a rotating panel for a reason. I'll bring in some different people who.
I would just say Miami Heat for everything.
Sure.
Because it's the only team I know and
he
love.
did specify, which I think this would be an important rule. It can't be the one that you're like a fan of. It has to be
All
outside.
right, well,
of
he
your...
can go fuck himself.
You hear that, Zach? Everyone here thinks that you should go fuck yourself, including Emily. Emily, you say it.
Zach, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and she knows you too, so she really means it.
Thanks for sponsoring.
Thanks for sponsoring the show.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod for up until now, and now no more.
Enemy of the pod.
Frenemy of the pod?
The first enemy of the pod.
But
Yeah. Is there?
I think so.
That actually makes me think. Is there? There could be kind of a cool sport, like a.
No. It's not
Okay.
possible.
All right. Well,
Couldn't happen. Couldn't be done. No one can do
a
it.
sports,
like a
amusement
sports
park?
theme park.
Yes.
I
Oh my
think
God.
could
Middle
be-
America would die for that.
But what would the rides
Someone
be?
else would love that.
Well,
not
you
me,
could
but
have
someone else.
you could have some kind of like immersive, maybe like 3D rides where it feels like you're in a
You're-
football.
yeah.
I
game.
knew
Or
I was
you're
like
in
the
the
only
field.
Tackled,
Yeah.
rugby.
You're the quarterback.
I don't know. I think it'd be more of a vibes park probably than rides, but
Vibes and rides.
Like there could be like some extreme. You could get some extreme sports rides, like surfing or flying squirrel wingsuit competition.
I feel like this is sounding more like a like interactive like gaming.
So they did at one point. ESPN had the ESPN Zone, which was attached to Disney World.
It's so ESPN Zone was like a sports center basically. So I never went because I don't care about sports.
You went to Disney World 10
Understand.
times while it existed and never went,
Lived
probably.
in Disney World while it existed. Never went.
Never
didn't
even
care.
considered it for a moment.
I think I actually don't know if they had like things to do there or if it was like a complex.
It wasn't like a whole theme park.
No,
it was
no,
just
it wasn't
like
a theme. Like not a theme park. I
It was
wouldn't
just
call
an
it a theme park,
interactive
but there was
place,
like,
yeah.
I mean, there's also facilities. Like they would have like.
Yeah, they would
cheerleading
do competition.
competitions
Yeah,
and
like
things
actual
that.
sports there. So it was
Couldn't tell
it was
you
a
what
different
else
kind of
was
thing. But yeah, I think there's kind of a cool like sports angle you could take on.
Sure there
on
is.
on a theme. We'll pivot hard
I
out of this
trust you.
now.
There's probably a Buff Wild Wings, and I'd go there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if there's snacks, I'll show up.
Oh yeah, the
Sure.
food. I mean, you could like
Can't buy football,
you
but
could
like,
have
I'll eat it.
You could have like a street that recreates like all the iconic, so like Fenway Park, Dodger Stadium, like and all the different like iconic food that you can get at different stadiums and things around. That could be really
A Dodger dog, a Fenway dog,
It's called Dog
a Cubs
Street.
dog.
And then also the halftime show. There would be like a
They could be
halftime show
great
ride or
shows,
something.
yeah. And then you could have like an arena attached where you could do actual sporting events there as like part of the experience on a
Yeah,
daily
that makes
basis.
sense.
Like you could have like someone like the Harlem Globetrotters or like the lesser known, but I think becoming very popular because of social media, the Savannah Bananas, which is like they're sort of the Harlem Globetrotters for baseball. They're like they play in like just a local in Savannah, Georgia,
Yeah.
but they do like really cool entrances where they come out to like music and
Cool.
they do just like fun gags and they're like kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters. They like screw around while playing the game, but are also still very good at baseball. So check out the Savannah Bananas if you want sports entertainment.
Okay. If you want sports entertainment, you watch wrestling.
Well, that WWE. I don't know if that feels like it could be like an add-on to a theme park or
Sure.
part of the sports park. I don't know that WWE could carry.
But it's not
whole,
WWE that he likes. What is it called?
That's true. I'm an AEW fan.
What
WWE's good.
What a
AEW's
fucking
better.
loser. Were you also a Sega kid?
No, actually, I was a Nintendo guy.
Okay, good. I feel like AEW is the Sega of the.
I mean, they're the new kid on the block.
Sure.
But they were born out of a local wrestling scene that I watched a lot of in person, so I feel attached to the wrestlers. So
Okay.
but
This is where
also
you
they
lose
weren't
me.
run by a monster.
Yeah, now you've lost both of us. I know a little bit about wrestling, but I never watched it.
I
regularly.
didn't start this.
That's true.
You mentioned sports entertainment, and it's a slippery slope.
Speaking of sports entertainment and or fighting to the death for pretend,
Okay,
Loves that.
watch this segue.
can't wait.
My number one on my list
Oh.
for this is Pokemon.
Oh hell yeah!
Because I think people already got a taste of it, of the
Yeah,
like
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go being like the experiential walk around and interact with the world and whatever. And like
It's a
obviously
phenomenon.
that was a phenomenon. It was layered into the real world. But if you had a place that was like, oh, there's literal like you can
It's
play
safe to
Pokemon.
do it here.
Yeah, you can play Pokemon Go, but you can like go and like fight gym leaders. And like in a day, you can have the full game Pokemon experience where you like get your starter and then go around and catch other ones.
And then
like,
Nintendo was kind of doing this thing where they have the wristband and you can like add up all your points, connect to an app. Like you could do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
but-
So you like build your team like throughout the day and catch new ones. And I mean, you could have some rides, but obviously it would be, I think, more almost like, again, turning interactive kind of video game thing into a real life experience. But
Totally.
that would be
That's a good one.
For sure.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
there's
like you get shops and eateries just like built into it. It's like
Yeah.
literally just the places.
and
the
there's
Pokemon Center.
there's like
Pokemon.
the different games have different, like Gen 7 was like the Alolan thing where it's like kind of Hawaiian themed or whatever. So like the different games have different set pieces, and like one's like a big volcano, and so stuff like that where you can have kind of different areas of the park that have all different like terrain and stuff like that.
Yeah, you could totally
it'd be so
justify
cool.
a full theme park. Like,
Absolutely.
And I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I think
like
it's a full theme
one
park.
of, if not the biggest IP in the
Be
world.
massive.
That like
Huge.
yeah. I mean, it's
And
almost
like
sucks.
international.
Yeah. The only thing that I think might make it challenging is the ownership of Pokemon is, and like how it's run is
Yeah.
very strange because it's like, I think it's part owned by Nintendo,
Yeah.
but then there's like the Pokemon Company, which is like a pseudo independent company, and they run separate, but it's still in conjunction with Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then like Niantic is the company they franchise, they like worked with on the rights to develop Pokemon Go. So there's like all these kind of weird pieces and moving parts. And also just Nintendo in general, and especially the Pokemon Company, they just do really weird stuff.
Oh, sure.
They've been developing this Pokemon Sleep app for like, they announced it like 5 years ago and it finally came out where you like track, like, because they were like, oh, Pokemon Go is so great for people walking. So like, how do we use Pokemon to get other people to do other healthy habits? And so one of them is sleep. And it's I don't think it's a very good app.
Is it Snorlax branded?
Snorlax is kind of like the mascot.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's kind of the mascot.
Right.
And
I mean, it's there. It's
fair.
And so,
100%.
yeah, Pokemon Sleep. So anyway, they just like invest in weird things and make weird decisions. So I don't know that they will have the vision to pull off a full Pokemon theme park, but if they did,
sure. I think because like Nintendo's so tied in with Universal now, it's like, and Universal's like,
but that almost
so many other parks. I know
that
like
almost makes it like a thing of like, yeah, work with Universal and like get them to like do the design and the infrastructure, but then like build a Pokemon theme park.
They just have to find it. But I guess, I mean, obviously, you'd flagship would be in Japan, obviously.
Yeah, they could start in Japan, but I think, and also it would be a great opportunity because it doesn't have to be attached to any specific location. Like there's a few that like Texas is kind of developing as another place, even though they're split between a few different cities. There's a bunch of theme parks in Texas, but I mean, the big like national theme parks that attract a huge audience are so dense to California. And oh, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see, if you go to the wide
Florida,
you can see we have a theme park map on our wall.
Nice.
Emily and I are big, well, I would say theme park enthusiasts. So you can see a ton in Southern California, a ton in Florida. We've been to a bunch, throughout the Midwest and some other places, but like the big ones that are the main draw are so much in California
Castles
and Florida.
And coasters, maybe that's the name to our Witcher Game of Thrones.
Oh, Castles and coasters. Yeah, you can see we have pins and all the different theme parks we've been to, but it's so dense in California and Florida that like a big Pokemon theme park that just needs a ton of land or whatever, somewhere in like, more in the middle of the country or whatever, like could be a great like other a reason to have another destination.
Have you never been to Busch Gardens?
Never been to a Busch Gardens. It's on the list. I think the next time we go to Florida, we'll probably try
part zoo, part theme park.
Oh,
part my mom almost died there.
I didn't. What?
Yeah, they have a hanging roller coaster called the Montu.
A hanging roller coaster where she almost died.
The mom too.
The Montu, and it's like an Egyptian theme, and it's like I guess just like there was something up with the straps or whatever, and like it just didn't lock in fully, and so she was like dangling on the ride, and she had to hold the thing down the whole time, and she was just like in full panic mode the whole time. But she is the chillest person you'll ever meet, so she like freaks out, is like convinced that her children are gonna grow up like without a mother, and because I was like really young when this happened. And then like gets off the ride, is just like, hey, there's something wrong with this like ride seat, doesn't like make a whole to-do, is just like, and then just like tells us a story about how she was freaking out the entire time.
Insane.
And we were like, yay. I think actually I was too young to ride.
You
I
lived!
waited.
Does she still do roller coasters to this day?
Oh
or
yeah,
did that ruin it?
she'll still do rides. That didn't like throw her off, but just like that was just her story for like, and she's like, I don't think she did any more that day, but she's
I'll take a 1 day
she
break.
likes the theme
but I'll be
park.
back.
Yeah, she still likes the theme park.
I appreciate the commitment to the game.
Your Pokemon world made me think of Ghibli. Or
Studio Ghibli, yeah. So
they have an amusement park, right?
They have a.
They definitely have a. I've been to the museum.
Yeah, they have a museum.
thing.
I don't.
They do have a park. I don't know how ride heavy it is.
I think
it looks more like
like
an experience. It's like a lot of photo locations.
Museum plus kind of thing. Yeah,
like a Nausicaa ride would be dope.
Yeah, Studio. If you're not familiar with Studio, do you guys say Ghibli or is it Ghibli or Ghibli?
I think it's officially Ghibli,
Ghibli,
but
yeah.
I don't like saying it that
Same.
way.
What like a studio that Hayao Miyazaki, like famed anime,
The Ghibli Studio.
Spirited Away.
the famed
We'll
director of like Japanese animated movies, and so they're like one of the biggest movie studios of Japan and highly regarded and have a huge catalog. And so they have really cool different like there's just so many just flying. He's so obsessed with flying in his movies that there's just the number of rides you could do based off of
Rosso
this.
ride, that would be dope.
Yeah.
Grave of the Fireflies ride.
Oh no.
I'm not
I've never
familiar
seen
with
it.
that. Oh,
because
I know it's dark. Yeah.
it seems like
very dark.
a lot.
Hmm.
Make a good ride.
Do you guys? So we hit Pokemon.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah.
Pokemon Snap would have to be like the ride of the Pokemon theme park. I had to say that. I mean, it's literally a ride game.
Yeah.
It's just you go around in a little cart and you take pictures of
The
Pokemon.
shooting, yeah,
That,
like
but with, like,
shooting,
AR
a shooting
stuff and
gallery
whatnot, yeah.
style ride where you're going and taking
But
the
like
pictures.
picture shooting.
Yes,
That'd be so good.
and then a Pokemon Stadium where you can go and they do like shows where they
Yes.
bring people up to compete against each other, like in front of an audience.
Oh, you could do that with like AR screens and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like you're actually watching them like, oh, I want that.
So serious question.
Yeah.
Would you be able to bring a pet into this park? Because I would love to dress my dog up as a Pokemon.
I don't know. You'll have to
Yeah.
talk to the Pokemon company. If
Make
pets,
Frankie
most,
stand up and dress her up as a Jigglypuff. Imagine.
obviously, other than like, other than service dogs and stuff, I don't know if there are any theme parks that allow pets.
No, I don't.
Maybe some
Probably not.
small ones that are like more casual, but yeah.
It would be hectic. What would you do with
Yeah.
your dog while you're on like a?
Yeah, for rides and
Coaster
stuff.
and
But I mean,
stuff.
people bring fucking babies to theme parks, and they got to do
Just the
riders.
baby.
Can
Same
you,
difference.
do rider swap for your dog so that someone can watch it?
I mean, I at least have like a solid like Pokemon like the Poke Center or whatever. You have like a little like,
Kennels.
daycare. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
They do have a daycare in
Animal,
Pokemon.
yeah.
That
There you
can
go.
Yeah, that's right.
Go drop your kids off there.
Your fur
You have to
kids.
dress them up
Yeah.
as Pokemon.
Yeah. Only
Your
admitted in
kids.
if they are in character.
That actually would be great.
Yeah. I think that's a great sell.
Are there any other big ones that you're like, this could be a whole park or a whole, like at least a big section of a park that we
I
haven't
think
touched on
you
yet?
could do Star Trek. It's not going to get enough like pull to like people would.
Yeah.
I don't think you get enough people to like really want to go. But I do think there's enough like the IP has enough versatility.
Oh
that,
yeah,
like,
I mean,
you totally could do. I mean, you do an amazing dark ride. Yeah, be roller coasters would be like the whole thing. Like it's
got
really
so many
easy to
planets that you
Yeah,
can go.
exactly.
You know, like just different things that you can theme around.
Yeah,
That yeah,
Starfleet
definitely.
Academy.
Yeah, like a test track kind of thing where you
Mhm.
like build a ship or something and fly.
Totally.
Yeah, it would be cool.
I'm sure it's coming at some point, but I think it's like caught up in legal stuff. But X-Men stuff, like a
Yeah,
whole
bringing-
little separate world for
Sure,
X-Men
sure.
would be dope.
Bringing X-Men into, I don't know, does Universal, because the Marvel IP is really weird for theme parks because east of the Mississippi, Marvel characters are for the most part are in Universal parks because it was a deal done from a long time ago before Disney owned Marvel, but they only had it basically in Florida and like the East Coast parks.
Yeah.
And so that's why in Disneyland, California Adventure, there's Marvel stuff in a Disney park, but in Disney World, there's not really Marvel stuff, except for now they have a Guardians of the Galaxy ride because certain characters were excluded from that original deal with Universal. So I don't know where X-Men, do you know where X-Men falls in that?
I don't for sure, but what I've heard is that if the characters are not already represented at Universal, they can be in Disney. I don't know how true that is. So I would imagine Wolverine,
It's
who I
probably a
think
no-go.
is in Universal,
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
show up in Disney World.
But,
But,
but I
this guy loves Cyclops. He would
There you
kill
go.
a Cyclops
but like
ride.
a Deadpool
Oh,
3D
that would be
ride or
so
something could be
fun.
really fun.
That gets into something I've been like thinking about with this whole thing where it comes to like the age rating of different properties and whatnot. Because obviously,
Well, that's why I was
Deadpool
saying the
skews
golf park
older.
would be for adults.
Sure, no, totally,
Yeah.
totally. But like a thing with like Witcher skews R and so does
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. But then,
But I
like,
think when
Middle Earth is
you're
more-
translating it into a theme park
Sure,
experience, like
sure.
you don't have to include sex and gratuitous violence and
no,
things like
it's
that.
part of the brand. There's a strip club
you
in the
must
Game
have
of
a
Thrones
brothel
park.
in your
Exactly,
theme park.
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
You can only do that park in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, or
Hey.
and then a satellite park in Amsterdam.
Oh my gosh. I would go to that without a doubt.
Sure.
There's a lot of open
Immediately
desert space.
buy me a flight right now.
Yeah.
Fair. But sorry, going back to the
Yeah. Any other totally different IPs that you think are that we
I thought my
haven't touched
TCM
on?
idea
I know
was
producer
so
Emily's
nice.
got one. Go ahead.
Oh, I would like to submit Zelda.
Oh, sure.
So I kind of almost marked because like so much of the Nintendo stuff
Mm-hmm.
is people have speculated that because the Nintendo worlds at Universal have done so well that they'll probably build upon that. They're already adding a Donkey Kong expansion in Japan, and they're going to be adding it to it'll be in the new park in Universal, I think. And so Donkey Kong, I imagine something Zelda would come at some point to one of their parks. So, but yeah, that's a great one. I think another huge, deep world and lore and like so many things that you could definitely theme around.
And I mean, you could like gamify that. Like they have like the coin collecting at Super Mario World, Super Nintendo World. I mean, you could do a whole thing where you collect bits of the Triforce, and bring it together, and you do a mini game. You did like a whole park.
Oh, you
really go crazy this one.
A Wind Waker boat water ride would be so good. I've never even played Wind Waker, but like just the art and the sailing parts of it are so
get yourself
huge.
A Wii U, play Wind Waker HD. They're probably pretty easy to find. Underrated console. I stand a Wii U.
It's been speculated that Wind Waker is going to be ported to Switch at some point, and still not.
They
it's
made the
insane.
HD remaster of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, and like I know it's not like a 1-to-1 between like the I don't know the software or whatever, but like I'm sure they
can
could
do
bring
it. They did Skyward Sword.
Yeah. Like just do it.
Anyway,
I want it. I want to buy that game for the third time.
Zelda's a great one. Emily, do you have any others that you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Regale.
Lay us on.
Okay. Well, one that I'm shocked that you, Michael, have not mentioned.
Okay.
Which maybe because it's being represented somewhere else. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah. I didn't even
Netflix just needs to
think
make a
about
park.
that.
Yep.
Netflix could do
Witcher, Stranger Things, Avatar.
Avatar
that
gets weird. That's part of what mucks up like some of these things being turned into parks is just like the rights get split between different companies. One owns the IP, one owns the distribution. It's all
I feel like technically Universal would probably have first dibs
on Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, because it's Nickelodeon.
That's a Paramount.
But I guess I don't know what the current. Oh right, it's a Minions ride now. Sorry, the Minions ride used to be a Nickelodeon branded ride because like Nickelodeon used to shoot at Universal.
Oh, in Florida. Yeah, they did have some.
Do they not?
Co-branding.
Not still any?
I don't think there's any Nickelodeon presence
I guess
anymore.
It's been a while since I've seen Nickelodeon, but like every show used to end with like the Universal Globe, and it's like filmed on location. Like I went on like a tour of Allegra's window where I watched them shoot it with puppets, and I also watched I'm gonna really throwback here, but what was it, Wienerville? I remembers that it was like puppets with people's heads. Like it was like a competition show.
Before,
You'd stick your head in, and then you'd control a puppet. It looked like the most fun. But
anywho, I don't know if that was
so my
just
head there inexorably tied.
it would be interesting to look into like what that relationship was because I don't know if that was just Universal Television like producing a lot of content that they aired on Nickelodeon because at that time Universal didn't have any like kids distribution channels of their own or anything. So, but Nickelodeon, so Nickelodeon so Paramount did own theme parks and their kids areas were obviously Nickelodeon themed. Carowinds had a Rocket Power ride, a Rugrats Reptar ride, a Fairly Odd Parents Little Roller Coaster. Like
I'm gonna look up videos of all these.
Yeah, it was really cool. So you can look up the old Nickelodeon stuff at the Paramount parks, but now and then they sold those parks and kept some of the branding for like a few years, but it's all slowly transitioned out. And now Nickelodeon does have two of their own theme parks. They're both one's in Mall of America and one's in what is basically the second Mall of America, the Meadowlands in New Jersey.
Interesting.
And so they're fairly small. I think they're both are they both indoor?
As far as I know.
Yeah, I think they're both indoor.
Oh,
so yeah, they're not huge and they're kind of, but if you go to Mall of America, there's a Nickelodeon theme park there.
Fascinating. I can't believe I didn't know that.
It's pretty small. So they do still have a presence, but I mean, Avatar, going back to it would be, I mean, there's just incredible ride flying.
There's so
dragons,
many worlds
like
too.
so many like, I mean, obviously the theme park layout builds itself. You have like the 4 different areas. You could, if you want to include Korra stuff, you could have Republic City set piece as like the center of it, and then the 4 different areas outside of that. But
biggest potential there is something we haven't really gotten into yet. We talk about like rides and stuff. The potential for a stunt show based on Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, the martial arts performances.
Exactly. All you need is people who are good at like performing it, and then you just have the fire and your water effects and the wind. Like that would actually be maybe the easiest translation of like an IP to a stunt show that like pulls it off in a way where you're not having to like totally fake it.
I don't know why that didn't even come
obviously.
to my mind.
I'm
but
shocked.
I thought of, because I have, so if you're watching on YouTube, I have I call this my teenage boy wall, because it's just things that I like all slapped into one wall. Yeah, so I thought about, I actually did think about Dragon Ball Z. I don't know that, it's not high on my list in terms of just translation into a theme park. Like the world is weird and interesting and you could do some cool stuff, but like, and I think that's just so much about people fucking punching each other in the face is just like it's not as experiential, I think, as some other IPs would be, like an Avatar.
But like imagine watching someone create a spirit bomb for a straight hour and then dropping it.
you have to the way that like if you go to the Ren Fair, they have the jousting and there's like a little storyline that goes between shows. It's like between 3 different parts of the day, and you have to come back and he's just charging up that spirit
Previously
bomb.
on the Dragon Ball Z stunt show.
No, a Dragon Ball.
I'm gonna make this spirit bomb.
But in a second, I do want to go over some like smaller ones that we think could just be rides. But yeah, in terms of an IP that could just be a single ride or a single stunt show or something like that, I think Dragon Ball Z would be good in that
I
category.
have a thought. Hear me out.
Go ahead.
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead as
like an experience
like
where people acting like they're zombies, and then you gotta like go through
They
woods.
did have a
They had
Walking
an
Dead
installation like walk through haunted house thing at
Horror
Universal,
Night?
but like they had like a permanent one. They like kept it from Horror Nights for like at least a couple years. I don't think it's there anymore, but
Oh, I didn't get to see it.
yeah. So in the scary realm, like Horror Nights has had its own. They've had Walking Dead. They've had they had Stranger Things, right?
Yeah, they did. That was fun.
as a experience. So the branded haunted house thing is its whole separate market that could be further tapped into.
That's right.
What's in the? Are there any other? Oh,
Fallout
so what?
too that just came out. I mean, I don't play that game, but
Yeah, Fallout. Could
I'm just
be-
thinking the dystopias. There should just be like a
Mad Max.
Oh, a whole.
I would die.
The same way we had like a fantasy super park, you have a dystopian Fallout,
Bleakest place on Earth.
Max.
Yeah, survivalist park.
Yeah, maybe Walking Dead's in there.
There's no food. You don't get to eat.
Well, there is, but you have to trade in like bottle caps. You have to trade in various like scraps.
They sell only 3 turkey legs the entire day, and they each cost like $8,000.
Twice during the day, they open the giant water fount
You
in the
know-
middle of the park, and you have to race to get water.
You know how at some water parks they have like the giant bucket that fills up and then splashes
Yes,
over?
that
They
would
have
be
one of
it.
those, but that's the only way you can drink water in the park.
And it will splash down onto sand, and you have to deal with trying to
Oh.
like squeeze the sand out.
And you know how we have Donkey at Universal? We would have Immortan Joe, but you're just yelling at people, mediocre.
And the show with the guitar playing guy
that would
from
be a
Mad
great
Max
show.
would be incredible.
The car show alone.
Yeah, the stunt show,
Doof Warrior.
The what?
Is
that his
the
name?
guitarist's name? Like
He would know the guitarist.
The
I'm pretty
Doof
sure.
Warrior?
I'm pretty sure it's something like that.
That's
I'm gonna have
incredible.
to fact check that one.
Yeah, it's funny because at Universal they have a Water World stunt show, and we were talking about the other day because the new Furiosa, the new Mad Max movie is coming out, and we were like, oh, Mad Max is exactly anti Water World.
Well, Waterworld is anti-Mad Max.
Sure.
Credit where it's due.
Sure.
Mad Max
Mad Max did come first.
Waterworld has always been Mad Max on the water.
But just reversed.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to confirm, the guitar player in Mad Max Fury Road is Coma Doof Warrior.
Thank you.
Well done,
Great job.
babe.
Great job. Gold star.
Appreciate that. Hold on to that.
No, always rely on him to
So-
know the weird facts.
One that I had for potentially a ride, but now you're making me think about like horror spooky things is,
Bring
and
it
I've
together.
I've unfortunately never seen any of these movies. We were supposed to go see the first one in theaters, and then we got sick and couldn't do it.
Sure.
Alien
Oh.
That
would
would
be
be
an
fun.
incredible like interactive horror
I'm
experience.
so mad I was too young to appreciate the alien encounter when it was at
Oh, was that a
Disney
thing?
World.
Oh, I never
I
knew
didn't
that
do
was
it.
a
It was
thing.
too
Yeah,
scary. It was
yeah.
Disney World. Yep.
Okay, yeah. I remember my brother going on and describing it, and like based on the description, I thought it was Alien branded. I only realized later that it was just like a generic thing. But it sounds like it was.
I thought it was Alien branded too.
Well, especially because they have Alien on the Great Movie
exactly.
Ride. So I'm like, okay, it must have been. But from what I gather, I think it was just like a generic Alien, but like with all the hallmarks of like the xenomorph has broken loose in Disney. But yeah, that would be super fun.
Extraterrestrial alien encounter is the actual name. What a ridiculous.
It's never not funny.
I can't imagine why this ride didn't stick around.
Huh.
It sounds like it was an interesting though, because like you feel it like breathing again based on my brother's description from when I was 5. You feel it breathing, and you hear like noises around. And it was very like
sounds terrifying.
Yeah, it was a very like ethereal kind of like try to like spook you.
If you think about what Rise of the Resistance, which if you've been to Disneyland or Disney World, it's like the most amazing theme park ride ever, and it's one of the Star Wars rides. But like that level of like, because when you're in that ride, there's just things around you all the time, and there's like a lot of very immersive things, and so Alien, I just feel like is a great property to be like, get really into it on a ride for a few minutes.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. That's a good one.
Any other ones that you think of, maybe not big enough for like a whole park, but just like that would be one really cool ride or experience of some kind?
One that I mean, there was actually a podcast that extensively went into this, but James Bond, at very least a stunt show. And I think well, there was plans for a stunt show at one point. I've seen concept art for it. It seemed really cool. Or maybe it existed. I've seen the concept art. I don't know if the show actually happened. But yeah, you could do a hella cool stunt show.
Replace the Bourne stunt show in Orlando. Because
that's the thing.
It's not great.
Oh yeah,
not great. Especially when you come from having seen the Waterworld one a bunch of times, and you're like, oh, the Florida stunt show, and it's like inside, and it's mostly a guy interacting with screens in a weird way. It's not terrible, but it's just it was a little disappointing. So I think something that's a little more action, like real life action. But yeah, James Bond would be
totally because things with like
they had a stunt show at Universal where they'd like light a guy on fire too. That was fun.
Oh, the stuntman one or whatever,
which they still advertise with, but isn't
actually there,
and it infuriates me because they're always like, check out the tour, and they have like a guy like on fire flying in the window, and I'm like, I saw that once when I was 10, and I don't think you can do that anymore. At least not in Hollywood.
Another one that I had that I think could just be some kind of cool ride or experience, and it was just fresh of mind because the new movie just came out, but Planet of the Apes.
I was just about to say that.
The settlement of like all of it. It kind of makes me think like what you could do with the Donkey Kong thing, but I don't think anything they're doing with Donkey Kong will be as in depth as this, but just like even like Ewoks from Star Wars or like anything that's like, give me a thing where I can like go up into the trees and
like you're on their back or something.
Vibes
it's like
and stuff just as an experience. I think that would be really
like
cool.
A Harry Potter kind of like projector screen, like the
you could do a ride like that.
Cool. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I just want dark rides of everything. Like roller coasters are cool, but I'm all about the immersion. I'm all about like the theming and just like the trying to like.
But that's where like the technology is getting so good. Where like you Rise of the Resistance, the Hagrid ride at Universal, the Guardians of the Galaxy, both Guardians of the Galaxy rides, really, one in Florida, one in California. Like the way that you can still make a thrilling ride, but with different types of ride vehicles and stuff and screens, like I feel like the early wave of like screen rides that Universal still has freaking way too many of in their parks where you just like sit in a theater or like moving seats or whatever. But now like the way they integrate like screens and projections and effects, like, but you're still on a ride moving around, like that is absolutely
it's really cool.
The future and the way that you can integrate so many different IPs into rides really well.
Yeah, the Transformers ride's actually pretty solid.
I hate that ride.
Really?
It's one of my least favorite theme park rides I've ever been on.
But that's one of those projectors.
Kind of, but it's like.
Is it because it's 3D?
No, well, it doesn't help, but it's also just, I think it's just really poorly done. I think it has the problem that the Michael Bay Transformers movies have, where the whole movie is just chromes smashing into each other. And so you can't understand what anything is going on. The entire thing is just, you're going through rubble. Cool. Rubble is fun and immersive. Like, it's just not I don't know. And it like also kind of hurts. Like the seat like jerks you around and my back always hurts after doing it. Having now done the Spider-Man one in Florida, which the one in Hollywood used to be Spider-Man and they changed it to Transformers. I'm like, this is so much worse than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Tough.
It's I mean, it's weird because like it hits the same beats. It's literally the same ride, but they just
But I think just what's on the screen is just so much less interesting to
I
look
can't
at.
argue. Like I still like the Transformers ride, although I also would love if they reskinned it with the designs from I'm a big Transformers guy. They redesigned them for Rise of the Beasts and Bumblebee, and they look so much better.
Yeah.
It's
Again, because they have like
what they look like,
designs
colors.
that you can, and that's the problem is like the movies, like the Michael Bay movies, I don't like the way they're designed, but at least it's like high enough quality that you can see what's going on.
Sure.
I think that's the problem is like it's shitty 3D. It's like low, like this ride's pretty not old, but it's not.
And by this point, I think it came out probably around like 2010 or something.
Yeah, so it's aged, like just the quality of the projection is not good. So it's just like metal mush, and like it doesn't look good or feel immersive in any way. So.
But being old isn't a deterrent because a Mummy ride is super old.
No, old rides can be
the
great, but
Mummy ride.
there's like this window of like some of the 3D and screen rides
Yeah,
where it's like
it's
when the technology was
technology's
early,
become old,
and
yeah.
like some of them, like the Simpsons ride at Universal, they could just like kind of reskin that and update it, and it would be a great ride. But like it makes a lot of people motion sick because of like kind of the old, like it used to be in 3D and then they got rid of the 3D, and it's just I don't know. I still like it, but it's like just give it a little fresh coat of paint.
Preferred it when it was Back to the Future, but
sure, I would love to have done. I never did that.
But it's fun as Simpsons. But yeah, it is definitely like cell shading 3D technology is good enough that you could absolutely do it and make it look more like The Simpsons and less like weird sort of 3D version of The Simpsons.
Sorry.
Producer Emily, any last calls before we?
Well, I mean, I have a whole list here.
Okay.
Oh.
Rattle
Want me
off.
to just
Yeah,
rattle them off?
Let
Okay.
lightning round.
I don't think this would make for very good rides, but Animal Crossing would be very
But
cute.
experience, but like,
Aileen
in
would
terms
love
of
that.
an immersive,
Yeah, it'd be so cute, so
experiential
fun.
thing. Very cool.
This one does exist somewhere, but I haven't been, therefore it doesn't count. Wizard of Oz
Oh,
would be
fun.
so fun.
That would be fun.
Like a classic fairy tales, not Disney fairy tales, but like you could do like a Hansel and Gretel. It could be like a little creepy,
Sure.
something like
you
this.
could maybe we could work Wizard of Oz into our Turner Classic Movies Park.
There is a
Yes.
fairy tale.
There you
was
go.
I forget what it's called. Storyland, I believe it was called. It's like in New England. I went there as a very young kid.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah.
There's also a place in Oregon called Enchanted Forest, which is the tackiest theme park, and I love it. This one's for you, Jesse. Hook.
Oh,
Just a Hook theme park.
Yep.
I mean, there's
Fly
already
with
a Peter Pan ride, so
Yeah.
it's
But
not
But
much
you
of a
could do like the
stretch.
skateboarding, like through the okay.
Yep.
Jim
skateboard
Jim
review.
Henson, just a whole Jim
Yeah.
Henson
Oh,
theme park.
I mean Muppets 4D.
Right,
So
give-
good.
give-
Give me
yes.
more.
There is
I
a-
do all the Muppets,
Muppet
all the
everything.
Muppets everything. Yeah.
There
Muppets Christmas
are-
Carol the ride. Muppets Treasure
Yep.
Island the ride.
Yes.
There are Sesame Street parks, which are
It's not the
It's
same
true.
thing.
Henson,
apparently.
but
like-
they're still Jim Henson.
Get in like
Muppets for babies.
Like
except it isn't Muppet
Labyrinth?
Babies,
No, I know,
which is
but I'm
its own
saying
thing. And
there's
it's for
a
me.
base that you could extend off of into more of an adult.
I
Well,
understand.
and they have Fraggle Rock too. They
Yes.
have a bunch of
Yeah,
worlds.
Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, so just
Muppets.
expand.
You
I'm
do
not, no,
Labyrinth
I'm
would
not
be
saying it
really
already exists, but
cool.
I'm saying there's a foundation. Hey, let's
Sure,
expand.
sure.
Oh, sure,
Although
sure.
those parks are run by SeaWorld, and we went to the one Sesame Street, and like if you're taking a 3-year-old, which we did, who was obsessed with Elmo, it was the most amazing moment ever. But the parks itself, not great in terms of the theme park.
I love Elmo too.
Sure.
Elmo's a great guy. Also in the works in Arizona, Barbie, because Mattel is opening a theme park
There you
with
go.
Barbie and Hot Wheels,
Smart.
which I think is
Oh,
a
that's
fun
kind of a
one because you could do
cool
like
dual
a
brand.
car show or something,
Mm-hmm.
or a
Yeah.
roller coaster.
A roller
Yeah.
coaster
And
for
then
sure.
this is going off of Ruby's or similar. I said like an Edgar Allan Poe vibe, like Gothic
There you
castle,
go.
like creepy,
Love it.
year-round creepy vibe.
We are missing
You don't
this
even have
goth
to.
park.
You don't even have to pay for Edgar Allan Poe work is in the
You
public
just go
domain.
to Baltimore.
Right.
And
can
honestly,
just
most
make
of
it.
the original like Dracula and all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can do
That's
different
what I was
versions of it.
saying. Dracula.
Public domain IP, the park.
Dracula's
Now that's an idea.
Shakespeare section.
Yeah, Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah.
Sherlock
Beethoven.
Holmes.
Winnie the Pooh's now.
These are fun.
A version, a specific
Steamboat Willie.
version of Steamboat Willie as your mascot.
I love that idea. That's
Sherlock
very
Holmes'
fun.
escape room.
That would be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Anyway, that was all I got.
But my goth park also, just quick riff here. Anything Tim Burton.
Yeah.
You just
And they can have
Beetlejuice, Wednesday, Addams Family, all that.
And the stores that you go in can be like Hot Topic and Journeys and what's that other one? Zoomies? Zoomez? What's that one?
Zoomies?
Is that what it's called?
Zoomies.
What?
And then all the cupcakes can be food colored so that when you eat it, your mouth turns black, and then you could be full goth.
Yeah.
All right.
Inside and out.
Addams Family.
I'm already goth inside.
Fair.
And I'm not portraying that very well. I'm talking it up a lot, but
You're
I have like I'm very dark on the inside. I don't show it so much on the outside.
You don't exude that in your day-to-day personality all that much, but
True.
when you reach deep in there,
Yeah.
there's darkness.
Yes, there is.
Any last lightning round that you guys want to
I
hit
feel
on?
like there's some
didn't?
hiding there that I'm not
I know.
thinking of.
I'm gonna think of something in an hour. And
Yeah, it's gonna be a movie that I'm like, oh right, that's the thing that I fall asleep thinking about the rides of. But I mean, let's be real, it's mostly Middle Earth. That's mostly what I want to do.
Yeah.
That was number 1 on my list.
Yeah,
by the way,
it's really just like there's so much opportunity for different rides
so
and
good.
shows and things of all sort. Yeah, Gandalf fireworks show.
Oh, I love
right there,
that. That's actually
exactly.
fantastic.
Yep.
That's how you get me into the park.
Yeah, fair. There's just so much.
Nerd.